allowing into this coaching conversation and being a witness of a small part of your life. It was beautiful. So
Thank you, Novi.
okay? Is it okay if I interview you a bit?
Oh, please do.
Thank you. So many things happened in this conversation. It was amazing. We are now in new territory. You have become a new athlete, and so many things have surfaced, and new opportunities have popped up for you. So I'm very curious, Lucy, what in this conversation make it a different conversation from any other conversation that you can have with friends, with colleagues, with what is so special?
You know, the fact that I'm in a new environment is what makes the difference now. And I say this because every time that I've had this conversation, it has been about changing the way I do things, considering a new way to do things. It was about how I did things. I cannot remember, or maybe I was not listening. I was not ready to receive it yet, perhaps, that it's actually the situation that has changed.
Mm.
And I need to look at it from that angle.
Mm.
While being coached, I'm understanding that the days of swimming are behind me. I did it so well. What can I use from there in this new environment? This is what is different for me.
Okay. So this space allowed you to engage into this situation, well, seeing something different that is about what has changed around you, yeah, and taking a completely different approach as you were talking with other people who were, relying on what you already know, what you were successful with before. And here it was so incredible. The very first metaphor with the plane was already a shock.
That one did it for me. He got it straight, perfect. He just it was me that was being discussed there in that metaphor.
Right.
It really fit me very well.
Okay. So here what was different is that you were talking about you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what was the turning point for you in this conversation?
The turning point was landing in the Amazon.
Mm.
The unknown. Just, where is this place? I had never considered that my situation would be drastically changed. Is it because they were put side by side, so I had no option but to compare them immediately and use one against the other? Whatever it is, I was ready to receive that message today, because I'm very sure I have been told this many times and I wasn't ready to receive it. But today, that was my turning point. It was subtle in its way. And you know what? I felt so, I felt I was in a safe space in my vulnerability of sitting down. Because I want you to imagine a child who is so afraid, sitting in a corner, literally with the head down in the knees. That was my sitting down. There's no chair in the Amazon. I'm sitting on the dirt I've got my knees pulled up and my head is down and I'm taking a moment. That was powerful for me, metaphorically, because my world is just spinning. Every day I'm chasing the next thing that I know. Now I'm in the unknown now. I need to sit down and think. Yeah, that was it for me.
Well, thank you, Lucy, for sharing this with us and offering us or sharing with us that you were in this place of vulnerability. And I also really appreciate that you said that you were ready to receive this new perspective. Yeah. And in your opinion, what helped you to be able to be ready to receive?
It was an open mind. Before coming on to this session, and of course having a session with Ben, I promised myself an open mind. And why do I say this? Because for many years I have had the position of a leader. People are looking up to me for answers, for direction, for vision. So you cannot have a follower coming up to you and then you've got no vision for them, motivate them and inspire them. You know, a lot is expected of me, has been. And therefore having an open mind is a luxury that I never gave myself. I encourage other people to have an open mind. But the fear of having that open mind for myself meant that I would spend a lot of time rewriting a narrative when actually I have answers in my head and we can move on and we know it, we've been here before, you know, like swimming. I mean, that swimming just did it for me. I've forgotten about my swimming days. But yes, yeah, so having an open mind today, I believe, is the one that has allowed me to receive. There were no expectations of me, just open mind.
Beautiful. You were so ready to have this conversation. And it also shows us how the trust that you put in the conversation and the trust also that you anticipated, I guess, created by your coach. Yeah. And you, I suppose that you found this trust in that space, and this allowed you to be vulnerable, to let go and being, well, it's kind of like you took off your hat of not only the swimmer, but also the leader.
No.
Yeah, it really sounded like a discovery conversation. What are your thoughts around this discovery?
Yes, and I would agree with you, because even as we came to the end of the session, and I know time did not allow, but I was wishing for more time, because suddenly there were all these things in my mind that the reflection was giving me such it's not clarity, it was coming to the top. It was being separated. It's like things were being, you know how when something is stuck at the bottom of a river or a lake or the ocean, and it was shaken, and I was beginning to float to the top.
Yeah.
So these things were coming to me because of reflection. I don't allow myself these moments. So just the sitting back, taking stock. Yeah. That's where I am. Yeah.
So insights and perspectives, ideas starting to bubbling out as you allow
Mm.
yourself, to sit down. Wonderful. And what is it that you would like to share about, well, what would be one thing that you are appreciating in particular about this conversation that you would like to share with your coach?
I'm appreciating the peace. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Yes.
I'm appreciating the peace
Mhm.
that was provided in the session. Because this piece, like I said, my life is loud.
Mhm.
Now, the piece that was provided here, there's about 50 people on this call. That should be noisy, but it wasn't. The coach pulled me into this space. And peace does wonders for me. If only I could allow myself more peace.
Mm.
That is one thing that I'd like to say about this session. It could have gone a number of ways.
Yeah.
But I believe that the fact that I felt at peace, I felt safe, I was able to go that far and even want to go further, like
Yeah.
hoping. I
Everybody-
didn't feel the rush. I didn't feel that
Uh-huh.
time was running out. I didn't feel all those things that I feel in my usual life.
Mm. That's so beautiful. It's like that you were in a bubble that was created for you and your coach. And in that bubble, you were able to experience peace,
Mhm.
and insights. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lucy, for sharing your experience.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Lucy, so very much. Now, Lucy, I got a feedback, I got a comment from an audience who believe that this is an artificial conversation, that both me and you have scripted it. So I would like to kind of like use this opportunity to kind of like, just be, let you tell the audience, is this a scripted conversation or is this a natural conversation? Because I felt that comment was a little bit insulting to a client who is bearing her soul in front of everybody. So Lucy, would you like to clarify? Have we scripted this conversation in any way?
The only script about this conversation is that you reached out and asked who would like to be a client, to be coached during these sessions. And if yes, just put down the thing that you would like to talk about. And this thing is real for me, Ben.
Thank you.
3 years that I have gone through, you can see I have a book. And when people see this book, they see success. I could tell a whole different story here, but
Thank you.
I'm here and today I can look at it from a different perspective totally. The situation has changed, but Lucy is the same. Thank you. I just want to thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for verifying that this is not a scripted conversation so that we can all truly appreciate the power of a transformational approach, that it is meant to be a natural conversation. It's not a conversation where we ask questions. What's the difference between this kind of conversation if you're just merely asking questions versus you having a dialogue to expand the mind, to allow people to gain clarity and understanding? So thank you so very much for offering such a wonderful case study for us to deep dive. So Nog, I need your help to kind of like, would you be able to help us to read through some of the interesting feedback and some of what stood out for our groups here regarding today's case, and then after that we'll move right into our learning sessions. Yeah?
Okay.
Great. So here is it.
So what stood out for you in today's coaching conversation? So we have beautiful way of challenging the client's doubt, challenging yet supportive, beautiful dance between coach and client, great use of metaphors. Coaching presence was remarkable. Lovely metaphors used by both coach and client. The metaphor of being in the Amazon and the client realizing that she's in a new environment and has the ability to survive based on her previous strengths. Metaphor is amazing for reflection, deep thinking, second layer or third layer reflection. The metaphor bringing the client away from the thought process that is not supporting the client anymore, moved client from doing to thinking. The ability of the coach to change the metaphor after observing the client's story. We need to evoke the senses of our client by moving from hopeless to a lush and abundant environment. And that helps the client see there is so many new resources to use. The metaphor of the plane and changing the environment of the landing to the Amazon. The visitors of fear, hard work, capability, and doubt knocking at the door. And when the coach shared his observations about the client's relationship with the questions she was asking herself, the refusal of the coach to allow the client to go back to her comfort zone of the swimming metaphor. The initial perspective presented was a loss frame and a shock to the system, but the artful way in which the coach created another environment to trigger the perspective shift and change the client's way of looking at the world, that was deep. The challenge to consider another perspective to the questions and answers. I did not feel all right. The metaphor switched from in water to in forest, in disrupting the client's mind and experience change, dancing in the moment, in changing from being in the water to land in the Amazon forest. The plane landed on the right place. Change of metaphors and change of thinking. The invitation to reflect on where best the strength of the length would serve her, and how the coach made the coachee get into deeper insights for herself and her situation. Very inspiring and relaxing to see how beautifully Ben led this coaching session. Thank you.
Wow, thank you everyone. Let's all turn on the camera and let's give our dear client Lucy a high five for offering such a rich case study to allow us to deep dive into the nature of things. So remember back in the classroom, we mentioned a few very important concepts. Observation on the nature of things, right? Which is basically observe how our clients is relating to their own struggle, not coaching the situations. If we coach the situations, as our clients have said, for 3 years, she's not getting anywhere because people is constantly coaching her around how she can do better around the situation. So the transformational approach is powerful because it takes into consideration how the client is relating to their situation in terms of the experience. How are they experiencing their struggle? Because it is these perceptions, this one, how they are relating, that is the game changer. If we have no awareness on how we are interacting with the situation, then the ability to gain agility is less. Okay, because we only learn how to figure out the situation, but not gaining an understanding on how we are processing. So it is the understanding that brings power, not the solutions that brings the change. So far, so good? Great. So here, it challenges us to learn how to make observations of experience. So it is this experience that the client has no conscious awareness around it. The client has great conscious awareness around this is the situations, this is what happens, this is the consequence, this is what I've done. That is what the client is conscious about. Now, your client is not paying you money to pay you money to ask you to tell me what I know about something that is inside my brain. It's like, hey, I'm paying you money to you ask me what time is it. Okay. Do you understand what I'm trying to say in a very blunt way? That how, conventional coaching has went. Okay. So we are helping our clients to gain something that they cannot gain conscious awareness about, which is how they're experiencing it, because that requires a mirror. And what you're mirroring is going to measure up the quality of your skill set. Because if the clients can tell you exactly what you're seeing, then there's no value of why I need this mirror. Agreed? I need a mirror because I can see, I cannot see my face. Okay. If I can see my hand, I don't need a mirror because I can see it by myself. So far, so good. So henceforth, the training that you went through, learning how to observe the elements, the structure thought process, and then later on, as you move on to the other levels of training, is going to enhance your capacity to lock into what is it that the clients experience that is unconscious to them. Got it? Great. Ready for the deep learning? And so we're going to go and deep dive. What on earth are we supposed to observe now? Okay, we learn about the elements, we learn about the thought process. Oh my God, how do I apply all this in today's case study? Curious to learn? Great. So if you're curious to learn, we're going to invite you to go to the other room. Okay, good. So I'm going to knock the host first, and